Hi guys, Gareth here from Heartfelt Horsemanship. I'm going to talk a little bit about horses that haven't been properly halter trained or struggle to catch. The chestnut mare in the middle is just coming for training, and she, by all accounts, has been ridden, but you can't get a halter on her without putting her into a small place, crush, or I don't know what facilities are used, and forcing a halter on her. And she's extremely head shy. Now for me, that's tameness, and if a horse isn't tame, I don't ride it. When you think about it, you're sitting on top of an animal that's still terrified of you, you're not going to stay very safe. So I'm going to show you what I do for this, because going to put a halter on, just like the typical halter, is hard for her. She just pulls up her nose and sometimes goes up and rears. So what I've been doing for the last 3 days is spent about an hour a day just walking up to her. When she stands and lets me rub her, I walk away. So she's not always expecting to be caught. So the balance of time with me is not me asking for something, so it looks a bit different to what she's used to, which is, well, I assume it was a bit of a rugby match. Okay, I'm going to go give it a go. Tell me if you want to talk through what I do with the rope.
Okay, so it seems, using those facilities seem to make, sense in terms of saving time. And sometimes we shoot ourselves in the foot when it comes to saving time with horses. If you take the time to do it right, you're going to get it right. When you take the time to hurry up and do it quickly, you often get it wrong. And so we're out here in this massive camp. There isn't a crusher, there isn't a round pen anywhere nearby. And we have to be able to catch her out here and bring her in for her daily training. And this is in fact part of her daily training. If you can't catch a horse, what good is it to ride it? So because she is so fearful of having her face touched, she goes from evasive to not quite aggressive, but extremely defensive. And so instead of just chasing her around with the halter, which eventually would probably work with what Gareth is doing, he's putting the rope around her neck just so we have some sort of control, so she doesn't sort of take off to the wild blue yonder and we end up walking all day. So Gareth gets the rope around her neck just to have some sort of way of asking her to stay with us. Now it doesn't offer us a lot of control, but it just gives us enough to be able to guide her head to the right space. And you can see she's actually quite okay with Gareth scratching her bum and her shoulder, but anytime he kind of moves past the drive line, she tries to scooch and become evasive, and kind of keeps him into a spot. Now interestingly, this whole group of horses has tried to kick our heads off, every one of them. And I think that's just, their natural defense mechanism, or, kind of something environmentally in their previous home caused it. So they kind of keep you back there, and they don't really do much with it. But I have a feeling that if Gareth were to make the wrong move, the next step would be, he'd have those feet in his face. So he's trying to make sure that he stays in a safe area off to the side, and he can't be out there complaining about how much work this is, how much time it's taking. He's really got to be committed to the long haul. So he's going to scratch, scratch, scratch. Let's see if he can get close to her face, and then he's going to retreat. So rhythm, relaxation, and retreat, because right now we're kind of redesensitizing her to humans, because clearly she's overly sensitive to the presence of a human. So he's going to scratch, 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 get a little bit of relaxation, and retreat a little bit. And then he's going to go back in. See, so right there, like if he were any less quick, she still probably would have evaded. The first day I think this took, probably an hour, hour and a half. Kind of the next day got a little bit shorter. Yesterday was probably only about 15 minutes, and so on. But right now, if we don't take the time to do this, no matter how much riding we were to actually get done on her, though I do not feel this horse is safe to be ridden at all yet, if you can't catch her, you really don't have much to work with. You can see she actually follows the feel of the rope reasonably well for a horse who's been resistant. She has her little buddy herd mate there who's super confident. She's got enough confidence for the both of them, but she doesn't want to leave. And that's okay. That's part of the benefits of working out here, is we actually kind of get to work on their terms a little bit more, which allows them to feel a little bit more safety. Sometimes the other horses get in our way, but mostly it's builds a lot of confidence in the animal that you're working with. When an animal loses confidence, they start finding interesting and sometimes not so safe ways of telling you that they don't have confidence. So we'll try and keep everything on the side of building confidence and not losing confidence.
Lost my halter in the rope. I need to find it.
Gareth has now lost a halter and a rope, and this grass is well above my waist. For the most part, I'm not sure that we'll see it until springtime now.
So if I go to, I would go for a halter. So we're clearly very good.
Looking a whole lot better than yesterday.
Okay, but she does pull her head up like that, so that's why I'm not going to use a typical halter. I'll get a little closer so you guys can see. When she kind of pulls on me, all these horses that came with this lot tend to pull back. And I think it's that situation where people use two people, one person pulls up front, one person chases from behind. And when there's no person behind, the horse shuts down, they'll stop, release, and go chase from behind to get this level of pulling. So
And what we're trying to do is make sure that these horses actually want to follow a feel and move forward. A horse that doesn't want to move forward eventually develops a bucking issue. So if we can sort out her moving forward here with us and with us, chances are the riding will go a lot smoother. This is why we do our groundwork.
Okay, so I've got to the point now where I can actually, that is a huge improvement from yesterday. But I can now put a rope over, I've got a loop in the rope and just do it over here. And I can get her to yield from the rope. I can bring her this way, take her that way. So she's yielding from the rope and the neck. But this is also how I do if I'm halter training a young horse. Actually, young horses you can normally get to the halter pretty quickly, but I still use this because if it's a very baby horse, and this is softer than the traditional rope halter and more effective than a flat creek, what we call a creek halter, the webbing halters or the thick leather halters. We call the creek halter because they are absolutely useless and only place they do any good is in the river. So I use this to initially teach very gentle yield, and then I'll put the halter on. With a young foal, if they hit that hard knots without understanding and they pull back, they can rear up and hit the fontanelle, and bad breeders lose horses with their halter training. So I work on something softer. My goal here is I've got it around her neck. It's going to show me a little bit of what she does.
You can see she's clearly gotten away from someone in doing this. When we showed up to pick up these horses, they had their halters on, which always makes me suspicious and pretty confident that there's going to be someone's really hard to catch. And the others haven't been too terribly bad, but this mare has clearly had an experience that said, I would rather not. Actually, I think there's really quite a sweet horse on there. She's just not too keen on humans yet. And so if we try and force ourselves in there and come in with an authoritarian type of attitude, this mare is just going to keep fighting us. If we come in and say, you know, just give me five minutes, let me try and change your mind about me, I think that's going to be time better spent. You know, once you get a horse properly tame and through the movements, the riding part's easy. The riding is a result of good groundwork. The riding is a result of good rapport and good relationship. So the time that we're spending and doing this is really valuable time. Now, where a lot of people struggle with this is they do not have the perseverance or endurance to do this.
This is one situation where once it's got this bad, rather call it professional.
Yeah, this is definitely a professional situation.
Because, you know, if you've done it right from the beginning, you've done it, you know, things go easy for you. If it's a little less, yeah. I was okay, you can talk.
Okay. Sorry, memory card filled up quickly. Happens these days. Spending a lot of time doing videos for you guys. Please don't forget to like and share our videos and our channel, so that way we can continue making more free videos for you guys to learn from. Okay, so Gareth's going back to trying to work at putting his arm around her nose and moving in quite slowly. And the thing is we could try and do this in a fast fashion and flood her, and I think, you know, Gareth has just enough pressure there with his hands to suggest that she might stay. But if he were to, you know, sort of grab her aggressively, or, you know, add too much pressure with his hands or move too fast, I think she'd be gone. And kind of knowing when to put more pressure and when to put less pressure is all one of the things you kind of learn along the journey. I try and stay the staying side of pressure, so that way I don't have to go following horses around the paddock and they pull away from me. But that's just my preference. Some nice licking and chewing going on. Some of the last couple of sessions with her, when Gareth has gotten to this point, she's actually a couple of times like completely shut down, frozen, head down, and completely not with us and not participating. So the changes that I see today are the fact that she's blinking, she's licking and chewing, you know, her eyebrows are moving. I mean, clearly look on her face says, you know, maybe she doesn't love this. But it's definitely better than her shutting out and checking out of the process.
Yeah. It's pretty hard to imagine riding a horse that won't even let you get the rope around its nose. And this is kind of why I use this with a simple rope rather than the whole halter. And I didn't know she was this bad when she came to us. And the first day, we actually filmed it, but we in our deleting to clear memory cards, we lost it. But it didn't look pretty, and I wanted to share it with you guys because a lot of people say we make this look easy. It doesn't always look that way. I make mistakes too, and in this case it was out of ignorance. I didn't know, and I went to put the halter on, and it looked a little like a rodeo. She reared up and dragged me around, knocked me in the face.
Steep learning curve, that one.
Yeah. Whereas if I'd approached it like this from the start, it probably would have been a little easier for me. There's bruising.
I suppose that we don't always get to know exactly what's in there. You know, people aren't always very honest or knowledgeable to know that something's actually wrong.
She's following my hands now. A little. There comes the fighting here. Now, the big thing is not release, but not put resistance. So if I go harder when she starts pulling back, she'll fight me more.
So what Gareth means by that is if he sort of, clamps down on that rope or, grabs onto her and holds tighter to try and convince her not to leave us, it's actually going to make things a lot worse. She's already leaving and evasive and saying, if you don't let me leave, I can swing my head at you or drag you around, and I don't care if I hurt you because you're threatening me. So Gareth is just keeping his pressure steady while she's evading. This helps prevent things from escalating. He can't quit what he's doing, or we're actually in fact releasing pressure and rewarding her for being evasive, and that's the opposite of what we want. But if we add more pressure just adds more heat to the fire, and that's more than she can handle. Clearly she's at the level of pressure that is just that tipping point where she's already starting to evade us. You have to adjust.
Philosophy lesson Carl Jung says, what you resist will persist.
What you resist will persist.
So right now the rope bothers her more than my hands, so if I get my hands and she stays, I'll just get her to accept, well, tolerate that. She's not accepting it at all, so she's very tight. But if she stays and doesn't fight, I don't have to.
How does she feel with your arm going over the top of her neck?
Look, she's very tight. Every time I get a yield, it's clicking on her neck because she's so tight.
Yeah, you can see. Must be exhausting to hold that much tension.
I'm looking for opportunities to release, even though I'm not getting what's perfect.
So Gareth is trying to reward the slightest try of relaxation.
But unfortunately, every time I'm releasing, she's throwing her head up. So I'm not going to move to the rope until I get that a little smoother. That she accepts it as a release, not as her resistance getting a release.
So pressure motivates, release teaches, reward the slightest try. Right now, the most pressure this horse can handle is that thing around her neck and Gareth's hands over her nose, where the halter would go. Gareth is going to give some rhythm there. It's relaxing, it's reassuring. Rhythm is generally relaxing to horses at that sort of tempo. And that's helping her relax. And what we're trying to do when we have rhythm as our desensitizing factor is cause relaxation. We don't want to cause our horses to have more anxiety and get worried and leave. We're trying to have them adapt to a rhythm and find comfort, consistency, and confidence in it.
So with the forelock massage in this case, she's actually pushing against it. So I'm not really ready to get a good forelock massage if I don't have a halter on and I can't keep her nose with me. Kind of softening now. There's the eye softening. But stay sober enough to fight. Fingers kicking in. You'll often get as good as the forelock rope feels for a horse. All those good neurochemicals come through. It does make them relaxed. And if they're scared in your presence, they don't want to be in relaxed mode. They want to be ready to flee. So as those chemicals start kicking in, you see her start jiggling around. It's like, I don't want to have that feeling. I want to stay sober enough to fight. Now, I don't always take eating as meaning they're relaxed. You get horses that nervous eat or angry eat. This is quite a calm. She's not snatching at the grass. And I would actually take this. She's actually trying to calm herself. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to progress to just touching her with the rope around her muzzle. That's obviously when things escalate a little. Took that, I'll take it off. Give her a rub with less pressure. Or sometimes a horse like this that actually feels so uncomfortable with humans, the ropes at this stage. So when they give you something that you're working towards, sometimes they actually best take all pressure off and stop next to it. Now obviously I want you to feel good, so I'm going to give ribs, but my ribs aren't going to be necessarily a reward for something well done. We need pressure off to reward that. Now just a quick chat to mention about feed. A lot of people will tame a horse using feed. Horses' lists of priorities are very different to ours. They are prey species, so their highest priority is staying safe. Then comfort, so comfortable settings, and only then you normally start seeing food come in as a priority. So if she doesn't feel safe with us, she might eat the food that we provide her, but it doesn't address her feeling safe around us. So you're not getting an honest representation of how tame a horse is by giving it food. You're not riding your horse with a fishing rod and a carrot on the thing like you see in those cartoons. Well, you might be, but it's not a safe situation, because when safety comes up, they're going to forget about the food and go for what keeps them safe.
If we start making the horse's priorities our priorities, we can get farther, faster, with more quality. I suppose another way of saying that is when you have too much quantity and not enough quality, all you have is a bunch of junk. I think I said that right.
Okay, so I've got it across here, and this becomes my halter. I can start communicating with the nose. Years ago, before I met Jamie, and before I'd ever seen a rope halter, and I was trying to figure out how to ride bitless, start horses bitless, because I kind of figured out that my first rides, when I got nervous and I slammed on that bit, I got bucked. I started figuring out the bitless thing, that I would be safer without a bit. This is what I used to ride. It's very crass and it's not very clear communication, but it's a starting point for me.
And right now this is enough to get some control over that head and have her realize that it's not going to harm her.
It's clearer than a webbing halter, big halter. You can throw all those away. Don't even let your groom lead them in. I've heard people tell me now that they have their grooms use the webbing halters because they're worried that the grooms are going to yank on the rope halter. The groom's yanking on a webbing halter is just as bad, if not worse, and you're teaching your horse to pull every time your groom leads the horse, which is far more often than you do. So pay to get your groom trained and give them access to the proper tools. Okay, now I'm going to try and get the proper halter on.
Have you lost it again? No.
Okay, so I've got some control of the nose, and that's going to be my way of stopping her ducking out of her head. This is the process that's going to continue to be my focus on her for the rest of the week. I put in a bit of a backup yesterday once I got her in, but the bulk of my time is on this. This has got to be good before I can start building communication and even thinking about riding. The head shyness issue is a major one for me. I will not ride a horse that's head shy. I'll work on it and I'll get it right and then I'll ride them, but you will not get me on a horse that is still head shy. We communicate through a horse's head. And Jamie just about dropped the camera there. I know you had a heart failure. But we communicate with the horse through their head. So if they are resisting their head even on the ground, you're not safe being on their back. They're not in communication with us. Okay, so now I've got a little more pressure. Now notice I'm not holding her tight with the rope. The rope is there as my safety net. I'll go through the same process I did with the other rope. Oh, that's a good girl. That's 100 times better. So you're not seeing the big fight that we've had over the last 3 days, but you are seeing the process. The process is exactly the same. It's just a little more athletic when they're fighting you more. But that's why I say, in this situation, unless you quick on your feet and you work with horses all day, every day, this is the one situation where I'd recommend bring in a professional, get them to a point that they're safe for you to carry on building. Okay, so now she's still pulling back, and I just bring her back around. Now once I got to this yesterday, took this rope off, and this is where I got my forelock rub in properly yesterday, because I can, if she tilts her nose away, bring it back to me. And I want to hold it tight. I want to release whenever she softens. Now remember, the neurochemicals that are released when a horse gets his forelock rub produces it's oxytocin and dopamine. So dopamine causes it to be relaxed.
Oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine
Cause relaxation, but oxytocin in particular causes bonding, and that's really what I really want. I want her relaxed around me and feeling good, but I want her bonding to me as well. So at around the 45-second mark, it takes about 60 seconds for all those neurochemicals to come through, but at 45 seconds she starts jiggling her feet, where I actually want to hold on to this anxiety, because it's going to keep me safe. And that's going to take me time to let her feel that actually she can let down around me. And also, because she's been on adrenaline for longer, her body produces more adrenaline than it does oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin. I need to start having that adjust. Okay, so once I got to this point, I got my forelock rub, giving a lick and chew. I'm now just going to work with the other end of the rope and walk up to her, give her a rub with the rope. Practice getting it around her neck. Get it on her face. And you see she's a little bit less resistant now because she knows that I can just keep her back in place. So I can get repetitions of this now without her pulling back on me, because the rope halter is more effective phase 4. Thanks guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, if you're not a horse professional and you have a horse with severe issues like this, call in a professional. With lockdown, obviously we can't travel too far, but if it's an urgent situation, we can get a vet certification. Or if you're out of province, we do have some ambassadors that are really good at this, so we probably have someone close to you that can help you out. Thanks guys, cheers.